Hi, thank you for your question. So this is in reference to me talking about how I have detransitioned and retransitioned more than once. This is me when I was 16. This is me not long after, right after I graduated high school. This is me 2 years into my medical transition. This is me when I detransitioned or like presented feminine a second time. And obviously this is me now. I identify as male. The whole world doesn't identify me as male because I'm non-passing, but whatever, not my business. By the way, I just want to enter a little footnote that you might hear screaming. That is my son stimming. He's autistic. He is fine. I live with family. He can't hear me because I'm in a completely separate area, but he's so loud you might hear him. So I discussed in my previous video, if anyone's interested, that there are very legitimate reasons that people detransition, and I explained mine. So to this question, have I ever considered myself non-binary? No, and that is because my brain is unquestionably male. I think a lot of times when trans people say that their brains don't match their bodies, people literally just envision somebody in the mirror saying something doesn't feel quite right. And that's why they presume, oh, if you just join therapy, tweak your mind a little bit, you'll be fine. But it's a lot more than that. Science has discovered that there are a lot of biological factors that go in with being transgender. For instance, prenatal hormone levels, genetic components. This is just one example of an article, a scholarly article that talks about how, testosterone levels in the womb can affect, like, whether a brain is more masculine or feminine. An example of how my brain automatically identifies as male is like, say I am reading something about like a health condition and it says like it primarily impacts biological males. I will have to continuously remind myself, they're not talking about you. Another illustration of this is, I'm a biological parent. I gave birth to my son. And before anyone starts with, oh my God, that poor kid. Oh my God, please. He excels academically. He does wonderful. He has a huge support system. He is thriving. By the way, I hope I don't sound hostile towards you. I'm just, this is just in general. You were so respectful. Thank you so much. I am just like crossing my eyes, dotting my T's. I was not able to make sense of my birthing experience and early parenthood until I spoke to another trans man who also gave birth pre-transition. So this is me and my son, shortly after I had him. And I remember being so confused because, I will put this out there. I think that mothers kind of bullshit other mothers, you know what I mean? Like, I think they kind of give them this idea of like how giving birth, you're just gonna know everything and everything's gonna come to you. It's gonna be beautiful. And it's not always like that. And I totally accept that. I accept that everybody has a different birthing experience. Like, I get it. I agree. But I remember when I gave birth and when I first became a parent, it's not that something necessarily felt like wrong or anything. It was just, I was very confused because I couldn't relate to anything that other mothers were telling me that they felt and stuff. And when I would speak about it, people would say, oh, you got the baby blues, you got postpartum. And I knew I didn't. I've been struggling with mental health my whole life. I wasn't depressed, really. I mean, I wasn't in a great situation, but I was happy that I had a son. I was excited. But what's odd is I remember seeing, how his dad kind of was reacting and feeling, and I felt very similar to that. Like, I related more to that experience. And I thought it was odd, but I was like, whatever, man, this is just, I don't know, like, everybody's different, I don't know, I'm fucking weird, I don't know. But then I got reached out to by another trans man who also gave birth pre-transition. And oh my God, we would email each other. By the way, are you still out there? I don't know. That'd be so cool if you followed me. We used to send each other like long emails, like, cause it was just mind blowing how much we could relate to one another. And it's like he put my experience into words and like he said the same thing about what I said. And it was just amazing. And I bet you anything, if they did studies on that, they would find that hormonal levels, genetic components like I was talking about before, anything that contributes to our brains as trans masculine people being more male, I bet that has something to do with how the experience affected us a little different. Like I said, everybody's experience is different, but it's just food for thought. So when a lot of people are like, oh, you can just enroll in therapy and whatever, tweak that part of your brain and everything's going to be Gucci. This is just one of my surgery letters. It's from a therapist, or a facility that I still go to. I've been going to since I was 6 years old. As you can see, I've been treated for gender dysphoria in adults and adolescents since 2008. Here's my other chart where it says gender identity disorder in adolescence and adulthood. So, I don't mean to like burn any bridges by making a huge assumption, but therapy don't cure it. The only cure is to transition. And I'm just saying that for anybody that's watching this, because you just know. You just need psychological help. I've been getting psychological help since like Ren and Stimpy aired. Now I'm going to move on to back when I was a kid and kind of my experiences then. And so I just want to put like a content warning that I will be discussing some pretty heavy things. So if you think that that might impact you, don't watch this video. So this is me when I was a little girl, and I actually don't relate to a lot of trans people's experiences when they say, like, that they just knew they were born in the wrong body and stuff. I didn't want to be born at all. No, but seriously, when I was just 6 years old, which is insane to think about because I have a son who's 9, so just 3 years younger than my son, I had to go into like outpatient therapy. I had to like be put on medication because I already wanted to unalive myself. 6 years old, like 5 plus 1, 6 years old. And I didn't really digest how serious that was because, I heard about it my whole life because it was kind of like, an incident, in my life that like my family from time to time would bring up. And I didn't realize the severity of it until I had a child because I couldn't imagine. I mean, oh my God, 6 years old, you shouldn't even know what that is. You shouldn't even know there's an option to exit that way. But I remember how I felt. I literally physically remember how I felt back then. I was so angry. It was like rage. Like that's what I mainly felt. Rage towards my parents, towards God. I was raised religious and I was just enraged because I felt like I didn't have a choice in being born. Like they put this on me. I didn't want this. Now I'm glad because I think I live a pretty good life. I'm grateful. But back then, like I was so pissed because I felt like I didn't have an option and now I was stuck here. I literally remember I remember being in my dad's pickup truck and he was driving down the dirt driveway. He was driving me back to my mom's and I remember I said, well, I'm just gonna myself. And he was like, you never say that. And like he started crying and he stopped the pickup truck and he's like, you don't ever say that. And I said it again, that I just wanted to. And he was like just beside himself, obviously. I mean, But back then I was like, I'm speaking facts. Like, why is this man so upset about it? So yeah, I was put in pretty intense therapy. I had a lot of support services I had to go to. Had to be on, some heavy medication. No, but one thing I remember at this time is I used to have to, first of all, my birth name is Megan. I don't care if people know I like taking the power back. I'm all about that. But my birth name is Megan, and I remember as a kid I used to have to constantly remind myself of that. I would have to be like, my name is Megan. I live here. I am that. Like I would have to constantly remind myself of my identity, who I was. And I always thought it was just anxiety. But looking back, I definitely think it was gender dysphoria. And the reason I believe that is because when I finally went to change my name. I might have a picture of it. Hold on. I don't have a picture, but this was my top surgery countdown, so it's around the same time. When I went to go change my name to MJ, like legally in the courts, it was so weird because I just came to the realization, like, although, I feel proud of the name Megan that my parents named me because I know there's meaning behind it and it meant a lot to them. That's why I won't call it a dead name. I feel like it's disrespectful. People do your own thing, but that's just my opinion. But I remember feeling like, oh my God, this is so weird because I've never really felt a huge connection to my name. And it was almost like a spiritual experience a little bit. That sounds crazy. But to have my name MJ because like that is just me. That's my name. I've been MJ for like 7 years now or something. 6 years, 7 years. But I think as a kid, that's why I had to constantly, like, remind myself who I am, what I'm doing. Because I think I never felt grounded because I never felt like myself ever. But I didn't have that experience of like, oh no, I'm a boy. Like, because honestly, for me, I just didn't know it was an option. I didn't even meet my first trans person until I was like 16 years old. That wasn't even something I thought was achievable or possible. Even when I detransitioned this last time, my husband and I, this is before we were seriously dating, and when I would date, I would tell them, like, listen, if you're not okay with being with a dude, then don't date me, because I recently detransitioned, and if I can find a way to transition without testosterone, I'm taking it. I used to sometimes say that I wish I could be gender fluid or non-binary because I thought my life might be easier. But I don't think that's an accurate statement to make because I don't know the story of everybody. And there's non-binary people who deal with dysphoria just as bad as me. MJ out.